Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. We are going to get after today's question for Jeremiah. And today's question, it's an interesting one to me because I've spent some time in the past working on this particular topic in a lot of different forums. Clinically, this is right up my alley. This is an identity question. That's what we got today. The question is, how do I know who I am? Now, there is some background information. I'm going to bypass that because I'm going to get right to the gist of it. All right. There's really a couple of things to do here. Actually, there's a lot to do here. I'm not going to lie. But for this particular presentation, I am going to just give you the basic outline. All right. So the question again, how do I know who I am? First of all, if you're wrestling with this, you're already asking a good question. You're already there. This is a great question. The answer, I'm going to give you the short answer, and then I'm going to detail it out just a smidgen for you today. All right. The answer is it's an intersection of time and relationships. It's where time and relationships come together. Now, you happen to be at that spot every moment of your day. Now, you might be like, well, I'm alone half of the day. I drive trucks or maybe, but your mind is always looking at these relationships. Like, how do I make this relationship stronger or better? Or how did I screw this one up? Right? We're asking these really important questions. So let's detail it out. We'll break it down into 3 different times: the past, the present, the future. Okay, so the past, when we look backwards, what we're looking for is those intersections of us and others, right? There's you and there's me. And when we are together, there is us. Okay, so there's you, me, and us in the past. Then we look at the present. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and do this. If we're looking backwards, there's a couple of things that you got to keep in mind. One, don't get lost. It's very easy, especially as we age, to get lost in the reminiscing of the past, how I screwed it all up or how I got it all right and how it's my fault or their fault or whatever. And it's really easy to get lost living in the past. But if we get stuck there, doesn't mean we don't look at it, but if we get stuck there, it can be hugely problematic, right? We need to spend most of our time living now. So we don't want to get too lost in the past. We look to the past for clarity and understanding because most of our lessons come in the rearview mirror in the past, right? We learn from mistakes. We learn from successes. Actually, we learn more from the mistakes than the successes, but that's a podcast for a different day. We look back there for growth to see where we were in comparison to where we are. That gives us insight into the changes we have intentionally or accidentally made. Okay, so we look to the past. Then we look at the present. Who am I? That's a tough question. How do I know who I am is today's question. So we do it in part by breaking it into time, looking back, and then looking forward, which we're going to get to here in a moment, as a way of saying, this is where I've been. This is where I'm going. And that provides some clarity as to who I am. And the rest of the clarity comes from my relationships. those that I have interacted with and how I have interacted with them, those I am currently interacting with and how I interact with them, and those I might interact with and how I hope to interact with them in the future. Okay, so it's past, present, future, who I was, who I am, who I want to be, and then those relational interactions. Okay, so let's do something here. This is fun. This is one of those little nitty-gritty things I'm going to teach you. If you haven't heard this before, go try it. But please do me a favor. Please do me a favor. Get a therapist or somebody who knows what the heck they're doing when they read this. Because yes, it's a little writing assignment. It'd be fun for you to do. You might learn some things on your own. But if you do it in relationship, it will be even better. Okay. It's a projective exercise. I know I'm giving away all the hints to it, but I use this in the clinical world quite often. Okay. So I call it beginning with the end in mind. So imagine for a second, this is a tool I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to let you go. You're going to either go do it or you're not. You're going to be a passive listener or you're going to be an active listener. Up to you. I don't get to decide that, but I would encourage you to be an active listener, right? I'm producing a thinking podcast, one that is designed for movement. Stationary folks tend not to stick around. So grab a pen, grab a paper. Don't do it if you're driving. But when you get home, when you're thinking about journaling at night, hopefully you're doing some of that kind of stuff, or you're doing some reading, just set that aside, do some writing. It'll take you about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. It doesn't have to be super long, but I want you to do this. Here's the deal. Think of 5 of the closest people to you in your life. I'm going to come at it through the relational lens. 5 of them. Okay. Think of a family member, maybe 2, maybe 3. Think of somebody in the community. Make sure you get a community member. Maybe you volunteer at an organization and there's somebody you're getting kind of close to there, or you have been kind of close. A mentor, maybe somebody at work who's a mentor to you, or maybe somebody that you mentor at work. Okay. That is close to you. Right? You think of a church leader or somebody in the church that you're close to. Come up with people in different categories, different areas of your life. Write their names down. That's step 1. Step 2, I'm going to have you go ahead and imagine for a moment. Give yourself about a minute, maybe 2 minutes to think this through, okay? Imagine yourself dead. You are gone. And you are watching your celebration of life, your funeral, your whatever you decide you're going to call this. But at the end, you are gone. And these 5 people, and maybe you've made a list of 7 or 8. You can't leave some people out. Or maybe that's a list of 3 because you just can't think of them. But I want you to imagine for a moment, they are standing in front of all the people that came to celebrate your life or to remember you in your passing. And they are going to speak. And I want you to write in the first person. It's very important because it's projective work. Write in the first person. Take on their persona. Maybe that's your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your son or your daughter or something like that. And just say what they would say at your funeral, your celebration of life. It might look something like this. Jeremiah. Wow. First of all, I want to say I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him because, he was important to me and I love him. And I'm always going to love him until the day I die, and maybe even beyond. I'm going to love him. Right. And just write down what they would say. He was fun, or she was exciting, or the amount of passion was amazing, or whatever it is that comes to your mind as each one speaks, and they will sound different. You will make them sound different. They may say similar things, but they will sound different in your mind because you have a different relationship with each of them. Okay. Once you're done, this is where the other person comes into play. My recommendation you hand it to the other person. It could be your therapist. It could be your best friend. It could be your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or somebody who's really close to you that will read it. First of all, they're going to prep them. Don't just be like, oh, hey, I died. Here, read what I wrote. I mean, that would be a little weird. You might freak them out. They might be like, are you planning on dying? What's going on? And help me out here, right? So prep them, give them a heads up of like, I'm doing a projective exercise. Maybe have them listen to this podcast so that they can go, oh, this is what you're doing. Got it. Okay, now I'm not freaked out by it. Have them read it. Have them highlight what sticks out to them in terms of your projected persona. Because here's what happens when we project like that. We say the things that are most important to us and the things that are the greatest obstacles. Those are the things that are going to come out in this exercise. The greatest obstacles. Oh, wow, I really loved him. I mean, he was a challenge. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes he was a little blunt and didn't take the edge off. It was hurtful. But I got to tell you, at the end, I never doubted his love. So the obstacle was, and by the way, that is something that would have historically been said about me and maybe still can be at times. But for me, I haven't always been the gentlest in my presentation. And there's good and bad to that. But the reality is it can be an obstacle. And I should know that. I do know that. All right. So, those kinds of things are what will come out. So if they highlight them and they point them out to you as when they're finished reading, have them point out what they see about you in that way. And holy smokes, I guarantee you will learn at least 2 or 3 things. At least. I don't care if you're 70. I don't care if you're 40. I don't care if you're 18. It makes 0 difference, because if you take this seriously and you really put something into this, it will come through. Okay. That's the exercise that I think might be most helpful if you are really searching, how do I know who I am? Thank you for that question. I appreciate all questions. Please send me more. And until next time, we'll see you later. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.